Well, good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here. The first TED event that I went to was in Long Beach this year. And now to be actually on the stage speaking and presenting to you all is a real honor. Now, before I get started, I brought a little short, about 4-minute video that I wanted to show you. It was a piece that I think will provide, maybe some helpful context for this day. It's a piece that I did with Larry King Live for a telethon that we did last week to raise money for the victims of this spill. And we raised almost $2 million during that event. But the week before, and I've been down to the Gulf about 6 times now, we spent several days traveling through the Gulf and filming in Louisiana and Alabama. And so these little clips are a little bit of a travelogue about that experience, and I hope helps remind us and underscore some of the things that we have to lose, and then also a little bit of the hope and the determination of the people down there, and indeed the people across the country that are fighting this catastrophe every single day.
If the Midwest is the nation's breadbasket, then South Louisiana is a seafood platter. Oystering, shrimping, trapping. This place is so productive. It's a delta. These are critical habitats. We lose these islands. There's no place for these birds to go.
All the people that rely on this area for livelihood, to feed their families, what are they going to do?
Something else. You have to move out.
It's suffocating, knowing that our livelihood, this is what we do for a living. We're out here every day showing this place off. And as every day goes on and that oil continues to creep closer and closer and closer, it gets scary.
This is the black cancer that's spreading throughout the entire Gulf ecosystem, ruining lives and killing animals. And unfortunately, it's going to be around for a long time to come. There's no quick, easy fix to this challenge. What do we stand to lose here?
I don't think people, especially in the rest of the country, realize if this gets oiled, the impact that's going to have nationally. And we need to do everything we can to protect this area.
Every summer, every week, every spring break, every time we got an opportunity, we came here. Gulf Shores is our play place. This issue, what's going on with this, has got to come to the surface. We as a community will have this job for the rest of our lives of making sure people don't forget what happened here.
We are who we are because of this system. I know there is no place like this, and when it's gone, there will be no other place like it.
What's left to say?
I grew up here. I went to high school in Foley and lived here my whole life. It hurts. It's painful. It's painful for all of us that live here.
I started coming here ever since I could walk, I've been fishing ever since I was 5. So, 15 years.
So this was your big kind of dream to come out here and do this?
Yeah, I was making money fishing, I didn't think there was anything better than that. Pretty much everybody, commercial fishes. But a lot of big population of people that commercial fish that are out of business.
I've caught my redfish, I've done crabbing, I've had a life full of experiences. So what about him? And what about everybody's children? This is not just ours. This is just ours for a little while. And it concerns me deeply.
What does this mean not just for the marsh here, but what does this mean for southern Louisiana? What does this mean for the Gulf?
I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I can't stay here for 10 or 15 years and wait for my life to come back. How could you put your life on hold for 10 or 15 years? You would go crazy.
What's it doing to this community?
Oh, this community is going downhill, and it's just hurting a lot of people.
These people are good people here. They're very proud people. It's just unbelievable that this is happening and that you're standing here talking to me about this. Is like I feel like I'm in a bad dream.
It makes you want to cry. I ain't gonna lie, I tell you, when I look at this, it's sad, very sad.
Hi, my name is Bruno. I was born and raised right here in Arabi, Louisiana.
My name is Ira Nabatoff, Community Center, St. Bernard.
My name is Janet Woodward. I'm from Baton Rouge.
My name is Wendy Pierre, and I live in Chalmette, Louisiana.
Well, my name is Sean Mars, and I'm from the city of New Orleans.
My name is Brian Joseph Ritter, born in Araby, Louisiana.
The oil spill has devastated people.
It's destroyed people's lives. There's fishermen that's been doing this for hundreds of years in our parish.
Hurricane Katrina destroyed us. Now the seafood's destroying us. What's next?
A lot of people out of work. The seafood industry is getting devastated right now with oysters and shrimp and crabs.
Everybody comes from all over the whole world to eat seafood, you know?
That's what feeds my kids, too.
If that seafood goes away, they can kiss New Orleans goodbye. Millions of barrels of oil still out in the Gulf, and we don't know when it's coming in.
They just need to get it out of here.
You know, what are we going to do? If this continues, we're going to all have to move again and leave?
People need help to get this all cleaned up and try and get back to some kind of normalcy.
The more that we offer is the more ways that we can help.
We're looking for somebody to really help us get this back together.
We need help. We need help now, not later, now.
Help. I like the idea of help.
So, shared a little bit of the stories. I spent, as I said, a lot of time down in the Gulf, and maybe it's worth starting at the beginning. I was filming with Good Morning America, actually, a story about manatees the day the Deepwater Horizon disaster occurred, the day that the rig exploded, April 20th. And of course, 2 days later, the rig itself then sunk into the Gulf, severing the hose, or the pipe that connected it down to the oil in the ground. At the time, I think a lot of us really didn't realize what was going on, how serious this was going to be. And it wasn't until a week or two later that it really began to sink in just what kind of a catastrophe. Now, of course, the initial estimates were about 5,000 barrels a day of oil. That's been revised up significantly to somewhere around 60,000 barrels of oil. And just recently, within the last few weeks, they've been able to install a cap to be able to collect about 20,000 barrels a day. If you think that every barrel is 42 gallons, that's roughly an Exxon Valdez every 5 days. The last time we ever had such a major oil spill in this country was 21 years ago, in 1989, the Exxon Valdez oil spill that released 11 million barrels of oil into, 11 million gallons of oil into the Prince William Sound up in Alaska, and is the last time we had a catastrophe this related to oil of this scale in this country. And I was watching this on the news, and I said to myself, I have to go. I have to be down there. And I did indeed go down and started looking into the issues and visiting with the people. And then it occurred to me, with all this dispersant and all this oil that was being put into the Gulf and the chemical dispersant, that part of the story was not being told. And so I contacted Good Morning America again, and we put together a dive, and we actually went diving. It was one of the first times, if not the first time, people have been underwater filming a dive in an oil spill. And it helped to open, I think, the world's eyes to what the real challenge of this oil spill is, this oil crisis is. It's not that just what you can see, and that's what I keep trying to tell people. It's not what you can see that is such a threat from this oil catastrophe. It's also what you can't see. And just because it's out of sight doesn't mean it should be out of mind. And what we face is unprecedented disaster for a couple different reasons. One, unlike other oil spills that have occurred around the world, the Persian Gulf, or even Ixtoc, which was down in an oil rig off of Yucatan in 1979 that was in about 250 feet of water, to the Exxon Valdez, which was at the surface. This is at depth. This is happening a mile beneath the surface. This has never happened before. And really, we don't know what the cause or what the impacts of that are going to be in the long run, because it's never happened before. In addition, we don't know when it's going to stop. Of course, there's a lot of speculation and hope that the relief wells will work in August, and we certainly hope that is the case, but that is not 100%. It's not guaranteed. So there's still some doubt and concern about exactly when this oil spill will be contained. Another challenge, of course, is the time of year that this spill is happening. This is like a perfect storm. The time of year, I mean, it's springtime, right? Love is in the air. Animals are breeding, nursing, and laying eggs from sea turtles. Sea turtle season is just starting, and every single species of sea turtle in the world is either endangered or threatened. And all the fish eggs and the fish larvae that are spawning at this time of year, and the birds, 500 million migrating birds that pass through this corridor in the Gulf of Mexico every single year. Of course, as I said, adult sea turtles, dolphin, even sperm whales, and yeah, I believe it's a sperm whale that they saw swimming in the spill, photographed and filmed swimming in the spill just a while ago. We've captured roughly about 2,000 oiled birds now and tried to rehabilitate them. Of course, there's a multiplier effect too, and what you don't see is, again, what we really have to be worried about. They estimate that for every bird that's caught, 10 more are not found. So you can multiply many of the animals and many of the stats that you see on television by an order of magnitude. It's a very scary and worrisome issue, and it's as much an environmental tragedy as it is a human tragedy as well. And as we showed in that video, a lot of people's lives are changing and being affected by this terrible catastrophe in the Gulf. And there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. And it's not just the fishermen, and it's not just the people that directly rely on the Gulf. It's all the tourism, all the infrastructure that's built around that, the mom and pop grocery stores, the restaurants, the hotels, the bait shops, all of this infrastructure that lives and exists along the Gulf in response to the importance of protecting that environment. I visited with oystermen down in Apalachicola last week down in Florida and saw their way of life disappearing. Beaches of Pensacola covered in oil, the beaches of Alabama and Gulf Shores. And now, I don't know how many of you saw the news article this morning I've got about 5 minutes left. George Burns once said, the key to a good speech is to have a great beginning, a great ending, and both of them as close together as possible. And that's what I love about TED, is that they really keep you and make you stay on course. So I don't know how many of you saw the piece this morning in the paper about toxic towns. Now, also, one of the reasons this is such a concern is that with the weather coming in, and this year, according to the National Weather Service, being the potential worst year for storms in the last 5 years, these hurricanes and tropical storms can lift that oil up and deposit it further inland or along these barrier islands like Grand Isle, places I've spent a lot of time in the last 6 weeks and gotten to know well, creating virtual toxic areas, toxic towns where people won't be able to come back. So there's some very serious implications because of this oil spill. But I did not just come here. It's way too early to be so depressing because, this is a very serious issue and it's very concerning to all of us. And I think it's worth exploring a little bit, just touching briefly on some of the things that I think led up to this spill and allowing this to occur. One is that we have underinvested in our oceans for decades. We have not invested the money in research and science to understand the ecosystems. So when we look at what's happening in the oil spill and the ecosystems and the complex currents and the animals, we don't really understand exactly what's going on from a baseline perspective. At the best of times, we don't understand how those systems work. How can we be expected to understand what's going to happen when you dump millions and millions, and it's already over 100 million gallons of a toxic substance into the Gulf? On top of that, another 1.5 million or so gallons of toxic chemical dispersant, Correxic 9500. So we have underinvested in our oceans. We spend 1,000 times more money on space exploration than we do investing in exploration in our oceans. Now, I'm not saying that space exploration isn't important. It is. Of course, we learn a great deal about the world around us and about the solar system and our place in the universe and physics, etc. What I argue, though, is I think a little bit more parity might be in order, because knowing if there was ever water on Mars is not critical to surviving on this planet. Healthy oceans are. In addition, our democracy is at stake, I would argue. I would say that this spill represents nothing than a distortion of our democracy. And when you think that I was thinking about this last night, and I printed off the internet, the Preamble to the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States. And I would argue, how can we form a more perfect union and ensure health and prosperity for our posterity when we are polluting our environment the way we are? When you think that a week before the Deepwater Horizon explosion, lobbyists were on the Hill lobbying for further exemptions from the NEPA and further exemptions from environmental impact statements for more deepwater rigs, just like the ones that were given to the Deepwater Horizon, that is happening behind closed doors. That is distorting our economy. And this is a symptom of a bigger problem, ladies and gentlemen. This is a symptom of our addiction to oil. The oil spill is just one symptom, and there are many. This is a very visible one, and I hope that it reminds all of us of the true impacts and costs of what we're doing. When you think that health, for example, think of asthma. Between 1980 and 1994, asthma rates in adults in this country rose 75%. In children, 160%, largely due to outdoor air pollution. There are costs to this oil spill and to our addiction to oil that are not factored into the price that you pay at the pump. The distortion also of our free market economics, that products, carbon-based fuels, both coal, oil, and gas, don't internalize the true cost of their products, and that's another one of the problems, and also one of the solutions that we have to engage in. We have to understand how to begin to price these products appropriately and let the market drive. I did a fundraiser with Bobby Kennedy Jr. last Wednesday down in Mobile, Alabama, and he said, "I'm not an environmentalist, I'm a free marketeer." And I completely agree. One of the great solutions, I think, to this challenge and to preventing these things is to really have the cost of these products be priced into that product. That is capitalism. And of course, in my last few seconds here, less than 18 months ago, I testified about this at the Natural Resources Council, or Natural Resources Committee in the Congress, about the challenges that we're facing here and that we don't have the regulatory structure in place. So, free market economics, we have to invest in our oceans and environment, and we also need regulation in our federal government that is effective. First, we have to reform the way the planning process happens around leases so that people don't get exempted from doing environmental impact statements. We also have to establish specific standards for exploration of the oceans, and we have to take some of the revenue that's generated by this exploration and invest it into further conservation and research and science. With that, I see my ticker's up, so I want to leave you with a quote from my grandfather. Jacques Cousteau inspired me all my life. "We can find happiness in protecting the world around us, not only because we cherish it for its awesome beauty, power, and mystery, but because we cherish our fellow humans, those who live today and those who will come tomorrow. Human beings who, like ourselves, will increasingly depend on the environment for happiness and for health." Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of the day.